Friday, June 27th, 2025. My name is Judy Herrera, and I'm in Moore Park, California. It is my honor and pleasure to interview Gary Kennaley on behalf of the Conejo Valley Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution and Colonial Dames, 17th Century, for the Veterans History Project with the Library of Congress. This interview is being recorded by Ed Lynch from Havana Videography and contains the reflections and memories of the veteran during his time in the Air Force. This is Gary's story. Gary, you were born on May 26, 1946 in Sioux City, Iowa, to Robert and Evelyn May Kennaley. You were the oldest, followed by a sister and a brother. At the age of 5, your parents moved the family to Southern California. In the 5th grade, your family settled in Moore Park, California. Do you want to pick up your story there?
Sure. Yeah, in the 5th grade, my 5th grade teacher was her name was Whitaker, Sylvia Whitaker, and she married Bill Whitaker, which is the fellow that owned the Whitaker's Hardware here in town.
Oh.
And so that was interesting to have her as a teacher.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went into high school here in Moore Park and graduated in 1964. And I played almost all the sports they had available there. I ran track, played a year of football, basketball, and baseball. But I really enjoyed the basketball part of it. That was my thing.
Your favorite, yeah.
You got to keep moving, and it's a fast sport. So, and then from there, my mom and dad, neither one of them had any college under their belt, and so they always pushed me to go to college. Mm-hmm. And I really was not in the mood to go to college. I was like a lot of young men. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
Sure.
And so I did various different jobs I knew I never wanted to do again. Like I was a dishwasher at the Simi Bowl.
Okay.
For a few weeks and quit that, and then in between high school in the summers, I worked out at Egg City here on the outskirts of Moore Park.
Oh, tell us a little bit about what's an Egg City.
Egg City, they had 3 to 4 million laying hens, and they had 4 machines inside the egg room, and each machine would do 90,000 eggs a day in an 8-hour shift.
Wow. So
I started out just, like making boxes and stuff like that, and then they had an opening for somebody to run one of those machines. Mm. And so all I did was, they'd wheel in this giant cage of eggs, and then I would take them out and set the flats on there, and then they'd go along this conveyor belt and through the washer and wash them all. And then there was a lady in this little booth. She was the candler, and she would pick out the cracked eggs, and then the machine would go through and do extra large, jumbo, medium, and drop them and then the guy down below would pack them, and then they'd go out. So I did that every summer.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then I finally ended up at Ventura College.
Okay. I
succumbed to my mom and dad, and I really didn't assert myself. Let's put it that way. And at the time, they were drafting people for the Vietnam War, and so I could see that the draft was getting close to me. My rating was, I think it was a Y rating, which is the next one you're going in.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I better go see a recruiter, and so I really wanted in the Navy. And but they had such a waiting list, I didn't have the time, I didn't think, to get in the Navy. I still kind of signed up for it, and so if they called me, I said, if you have any openings or whatever, call me, and I'll go. And so then I went to the Air Force, and they said, yeah, we can get you in 2 weeks. So I did all their tests and all that, and it was kind of funny because my dad, when I took the test, and I scored very high in the mechanical part of it, he said, you got somebody else's test because that couldn't be you, you know,
Oh,
because he didn't think I was real mechanical, but I guess the Air Force did. So then I did go in the service. I went down to Los Angeles and was sworn in to the Air Force. One unique thing that I didn't say the other day is that when we were in there, they had some of our files are in there, and a Marine came in, and he took a stack of them and set them over on the desk here, and he said, "All right, this stack here, I'm going to call your name out, and you're in the Marines."
oh,
And this stack, well, he didn't call my name, but I was all ready to say, "Hey, I've already signed up. I've pledged my allegiance to the Air Force, and I am not going in the Marines." I'll tell you that right now, but I didn't have to say that.
oh, okay.
So, but a lot of them just went for it, and they were in the Marines
Wow.
instead of the Air Force. So I don't know how he could have done that legally, but they did it. So
They scare you.
they do. They scare you a lot. So then I went to Lackland, got on the plane, my first airplane ride.
San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah,
Oh.
and that ride was quite a ride in that aircraft. Lightning, we flew through a thunder and lightning storm, and lightning hit our aircraft 3 times.
Oh my gosh.
And we would just drop like a rock, you know, for free fall, you know. So I was glad to get out of that plane.
And that was your first plane ride?
My first aircraft. You know? And so that was quite a ride. But then I got to Lackland and, you know, get on the bus and, you know, they yell at you and all that stuff. To try
Haircut?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the first thing they do. They give you a haircut and give you your clothes, you know, your clothing and all that stuff. And yeah, every week we would get a haircut.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, on your pillow you could almost hear it growing back. and then you'd go get a haircut. And I'd tell the guy, "Hey, I don't really need a haircut." Yeah, well, you're gonna get one anyway.
Jeez.
So you don't have a choice.
Yeah. So
But,
how long was boot camp? How long were you in Lackland?
I think it was 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 or 8 weeks, yeah. Pretty sure.
How
And it
was the food at the time?
The food was not that good. Everybody had a problem with the restroom the first week
Oh,
of eating that greasy, nasty food. So, but we got through it,
yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And so from there, I got orders for Wichita Falls, which was my tech school I was going to go through, and that was 12 weeks and 3 days. And we had 5 blocks to go through, you know, like mechanical and engine and electrical and all that stuff. And so the first test I took, I got a 73, and then I found out if you don't pass, if you get under 70, they set you back 2 weeks, and you have chow hall duty, which is from 3:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night. I did that when I first got there. I did 4 days of that, and I was exhausted. And I was a young guy,
Yeah.
you know. So I said, well, I'm going to study every chance I get. You know.
Highly motivated.
And then from then on, I scored in the 80s and low 90s.
Oh, nice.
You know, from there on. So once I got through there, my recruiter kept telling me, "Oh, you're going to go home right out of boot camp." Well, that didn't happen.
Oh,
And then they said, "Well, you possibly get to go home out of, you know, your Wichita training, you know, the tech school." And I did.
oh, good.
But I got to the airport, and I ran in there. I was a little late because it was real icy roads and stuff. And so the fellow said, "Well, your airplane, see that one taking off? That's your airplane."
Oh,
And I go, "Oh man, I was sad,
oh,
and
yeah.
upset, and all that stuff." And so I sat there, you know, in the airport for a while, and I hear on the radio, "Hey, the aircraft's coming back."
For
Because it
you?
was having, yeah, for me, because it had a problem. Yeah, I was famous then, I guess. You know? So it came back and I got on it after they repaired it and was able to get home.
Oh,
Which
good.
was great. you
Yeah,
know.
I'll bet.
So that was a neat experience. And then I got other orders and to go to Big Spring, Texas. I didn't think I was ever going to get out of Texas. but I finally did. But in Big Springs, I worked on F-104s. I got training on that, and then I was in the 331st Fighter Interceptor Squadron, and it was at Webb Air Force Base, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they had Air Training Command on one side of the base, and then we had the other side, the Fighter Interceptor. So we were always playing war games on our side. So, you know, middle of the night, all these sirens would go off, and you'd have to throw your boots on, your clothes, and run over there and get your birds up in the air, you know. And so we did that, and I was there probably close to a year, you know, 9 months to a year. And then I got orders for Saigon. And 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to Saigon, they redlined my orders and sent me to Okinawa instead.
Okay.
And I think the sergeant that kind of took me under his wing, he's the one that kind of made that not happen, the Saigon thing. So I did thank him before I left, you know, so, and he totally denied it, you know, of course. So, but
Did you get to see your folks before you went overseas, or
briefly.
was your mom? How'd your mom feel about you going in the military?
She was a little apprehensive about it. My dad thought it would be a really good thing for me.
Yeah.
And because he was in the Coast Guard.
Oh, that's right.
And so he said, oh, you're going to learn a lot in there, and just keep your mouth shut and do what they tell you, and you'll be fine. And amen to that. He was right.
Yeah.
You know, the guys that tried to fight it really got it good with the sergeants in there. So.
Yeah.
But like getting back to our training in Wichita Falls, the tech school, they would march us to everywhere. We would march. We'd fall in, march everywhere to Chow Hall. You know, we out on the parade field, we'd march. You know, Saturdays have parades, and it was cold and icy one morning, and we were going to the Chow Hall, and they ordered a halt to the squadron, and half the squadron slipped and fell. And so they were yelling at all these guys were falling, you know. And then the reason I really don't like lines, because you had to stand in line and wait to get into the chow hall. There was 4 to a table, and there was no one talking in that chow hall. They wouldn't allow us to talk to anybody. You'd go in, you'd stand at attention until the other chairs were filled, and then you would all sit down at the same time.
Oh, gosh.
And then you would eat, and if you were the last one to get in there, you better eat quick, because when the sergeant was ready to go, he would yell, "Get out," and you better be moving, you know. So that was kind of a tough, crazy thing.
And that wasn't even boot camp, this is training.
Yeah, so I don't know what that meant, but I just think some of these sergeants interpret their own little ways, you know, and, you know, whether it's tough or not. But I got through it, and I did fine. So.
And then, so how did you get to Okinawa? Were you on a ship or a plane, or?
No, we flew.
You flew?
It was about a 16-hour flight, 16 or 18. And we flew into Hawaii just to change planes, and then, or gas up, whatever they did. And we weren't there very long, and then finished the trip, you know, to Okinawa. And I was stationed at Naha. They had 2 air bases there, Kadena and Naha, and I was on Naha.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I got retrained on F-102s. And so, and we did turn up around a couple F-4s, F-4Cs, 105s and 106s. So I worked on those aircraft there, you know. But it was kind of like a gas jockey, you know, that's what they'd call us, you know. But we were responsible whenever an aircraft came in, we would have to do a check on it, and also check with the pilot if there was any like lights out in his cockpit, or if his radar wasn't working or whatever. Then it was our responsibility as a crew chief to call all the technical people to get that bird turned around and get it all fixed.
Right. Where were the planes going? Where were the pilots? What were
They would just, they run maneuvers around the island, you know. I don't know exactly, because there I really didn't go up to base operations, you know.
Right.
So I just got through my shift and then I could do whatever I wanted, you know, which was nice, you know. And I got tired of doing the party thing like a lot of the young guys do. So I went to, on base there, they had this place where you could learn how to do different things, you know. And so I learned how to make some like rings out of opal and, you know,
Oh, wow.
put the stones in them and stuff. And I made a lot of things for my mom, you know, brooches and stuff.
Nice.
And so I enjoyed doing that, learning how to do something different, you know, rather than do something that's not productive.
Right.
To put it plainly, you know.
So what were the conditions like in Okinawa for you?
Well, the barracks, it was pretty rough because the barracks were not air conditioned. And so once I got there, it would take 2 to 3 days before you could actually sleep. And I never did sleep underneath my covers ever the whole time I was there. And I always slept on top and with the fan going.
Yeah.
We had a 100-watt light bulb in our little closet that we had. If that light bulb wasn't in there, our clothes would all mold. And I had a letter sitting up on my little desk there, upright, leaned up against, and I went to grab some lunch, and I came back and the stamp had slipped off the letter. That's how humid it was, you know.
That's crazy.
And we went through 3 typhoons while I was there. That was crazy, you know. So yeah, when you see cracks in the walls and you see water seeping through, you know it's really raining hard and the wind's really blowing.
Yeah.
So
where did you go in a typhoon?
well, they locked us in the barracks and they gave us a cold sea ration to eat. So the first one, my roommate and I, Wayne Heatherly, we decided, hey, we're not going to eat sea rations again. We're not going to do that. And so we went, they had another alert with another typhoon coming. And so we went to the commissary and bought some steering oil, a pan, some onions, potatoes, steaks, bacon, eggs, you know, whatever we could get our hands on. And there was guys beating on our door trying to get they could smell
Feed me.
us cooking, you know.
Oh gosh.
So, but that was a good idea to do that.
Yeah. Wow. So eventually, though, you were able to get your to get a license.
Right.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
I did.
your
My
taxi?
sergeant another sergeant there really took me under his wing, and he was actually married to an Okinawan lady.
Okay.
And she was very nice. I would go over to their place and they would feed me, you know, sushi, and I mean, she knew how to do it, real fresh stuff, you know. And she said, you know, you should get your run-up and taxi license. And I said, well, how do I do that? And he throws me this book and he says, learn this book inside and out, kind of memorize it, you know. Because when you take the test, they're going to ask you all kinds of stuff that's in that book.
Okay.
And you've got to know it. So I did, and I passed the test the first time. And so I was the youngest staff sergeant on that base to get his taxi and run-up license.
So can you explain a little bit about what you would do with your run-up and taxi license?
Well, there was times where, you know, they put a new motor in and we'd have to fire it up and make sure everything was in, all the gauges were within specs, and you know, it didn't overheat, and just all kinds of things in the cockpit. And so I would get in the bird and fire it up, and my ground crew would go. And one time I had it fired up, and I looked down, and my ground crew's running away from the aircraft. So I called the tower. You know, I had a headset, and I called the tower and I said, I suspect I'm in such and such spot, tail wing number is such and such. I suspect that my aircraft's on fire. And so they rolled out the fire department, and underneath the wings were in flames, you know. So I wasn't real happy with my ground crew when they didn't roll
Bye,
up
Gary.
they didn't roll up the stairs where I could get out.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Oh,
but I
gosh.
shut it all down, did all the right things, because they check that once you're out. They don't let you back in that aircraft. They have a board, oral board, that you have to go through, and they want to know exactly what you did to shut that aircraft down, so it didn't get worse. And so,
good point.
yeah, you shut the fuel system down, all kinds of stuff. And so, luckily, I knew that book very well, so
Good.
shut her down. So,
You weren't in trouble.
you know.
Okay, so what other things, you did some jewelry making, what other things did you do on your downtime at the base?
Well, we would go. I would normally not eat at the, at the chow hall because the food wasn't that great. Because all the milk was powdered milk. You never had a cracker that would snap on you. It was like rubber, and so, and the eggs were powdered eggs.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty nasty. So they had several places on base that you could get food from private vendors and stuff, and so I would usually eat there. It was very inexpensive, and so that's what I did a lot of the times. And then I would go into town. My buddies and I would go into town and do some shopping, and we hit this pizza place.
Huh? Pizza?
Yeah, they had pizza there in Okinawa,
Oh,
and
gosh.
well, I went in. I bit in the piece of pizza, and I go, doesn't taste right, And so I took another bite, and I go, they put ketchup on this thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't
Make it red.
pizza sauce. Yeah, ketchup. So I didn't have pizza again there.
Oh, gosh.
But
How did you contact home while you were abroad?
just through letters.
Through letters, you
Yeah,
go
we
home?
didn't. I tried to call a few times, but it was really difficult to get through because the time difference and all
Yeah.
that. And so it was mainly letters. My mom would send packages of cookies. She sent some chocolate chip cookies one time, and the biggest thing in there was the chocolate chips. Yeah, they just beat that package up. I guess getting it there. I don't
Just
know.
crumbs, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So, but yeah, other things we did on Okinawa, we would, the island's really small. It's only 69 miles long, 17 miles wide at its widest point. And we did a lot of touring, because when we won the war with Japan, a lot of them committed harikari. There's cliffs there where the soldiers would just jump off and kill themselves. And so we saw some of those sites, and one of the guys bought this old beat up car, and that's what we traveled in. We would just tour the island in that, and so it was kind of interesting to see the island, but you could see it in one day.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, not much to see. So what year are we talking about now? Where are we at, timeline-wise?
I think, let's see,
68
Okinawa is in there from 66 to 67,
Okay,
somewhere in there, yeah.
okay, okay. And then what happened that caused you to
Okay,
move?
then, yeah, well, what?
Pueblo.
Yeah, I know. Well, what I did was, in the middle of the night, 2:30 in the morning, I think it was, all these sirens went off, and then sergeant went running up and down the hallways and every barracks and said, we may be going to war with Korea. They took our ship to Pueblo. And so they said, just grab some clothes and, your toolbox and get on the C-130. And as we got in, we got all our equipment on there and stuff, and they handed us all these M1 carbines that were, the spot where you put your bullets in was taped up. And I said, well, where's my bullets? We don't have any. You're not going to have any.
Oh, gee.
So I said, all right, I'll just throw the weapon at them. Kidding around. So. But yeah, we flew out in the C-130 and ended up in Suwon, which was, they put us on this Korean base. And they had provisions for 80 of us, and 800 service people showed up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they put us in tents. And it was their winter, and it was always summer in Okinawa, 90 to 100 degrees and humidity equal. So we were very cold for a few days until we got into Korean barracks, which the beds were built up about 18 inches off the floor because of the rats. And they put us in these bunks that had mogi nets, so the mosquitoes didn't eat you all night. You know? So we slept in these, beds that had netting over them.
Right.
You know, so it worked out. But yeah, I liked Korea. They were a very good ally for us. A lot of people didn't know, but they had 45,000 of their men and women in Vietnam fighting for us.
Oh yeah,
So,
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Oh.
a lot of people didn't know that. So they were very good people. And they loved us being there, the Americans. So.
And so how long, so we ended up not going to war with Korea, but it was a pretty scary time for sure.
It was.
And so about how long did you say you were there?
About 9 months.
9 months,
Yeah, I
okay.
was there about 9 months, and during those 9 months, I did some traveling because the shift I was on, we were 24 on and 24 off, and then every third shift we'd be 48 off. And so it gave me some nice free time. It was from noon till noon we would go, so you'd have to stay up all night, and make sure that our birds were ready within 2 minutes. They were in the air.
Wow.
And so we had them all set up. And when they did go, there'd be bad guys cruising the DMZ.
Yeah.
And so we'd get our birds in the air, and they'd go over there, and I could hear them in base op, hey, get out of this area or we're going to blow you out of the sky. They never did, so then they would get out. They were just testing us, I think.
Yeah.
To see. So, but
Was that an apprehensive time for you? Were you worried that we would go to war, or you felt pretty confident our guys?
well, I was young and dumb, and those things really didn't bother me. But I knew that I was in danger. I knew that's a possibility because they told us when we got there to keep all our trucks full of fuel, because if the big siren went off, the base I was on was a Korean base, and a third of their air force was there. So that would have been one of the first targets.
Yeah.
And they were 8 minutes away from the DMZ. So it would have taken, so we had 8 minutes to go towards Busan.
Yeah.
As fast as we could go.
Yeah.
So, but thank God that never happened. But it was an interesting time. Yeah, we'd go into Osan, which was not too far from Suwon.
Okay.
And they had a lot of shopping. A lot of the guys had suits made. I had some suits made.
Yeah.
Like for $40, $45, you get a 3-piece suit made. Tailor made, You go in there and they measure you, and then, that thing fits you perfect, So it was great. And they were even making silk shirts for them in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I spent a lot of time in Seoul too. I loved that city. It was, it's a huge city now, but then, and I'd go, to different places there, and I'd end up, I found out that they had movie theaters, and I loved going to the movies, so I went and they had like, it wasn't Cool Hand Luke, but it was something like that, a current movie. And so I went in, and I thought for sure they'd have American subtitles. Well, they had Korean subtitles, and it was in English, so that even made me want to go more frequently,
And then did you meet a Korean woman there?
I did.
Uh-huh.
She was always in line when I'd go, and I was trying to talk to her, and I'd tell the houseboy, hey, what can I say, and blah, blah, blah. And so I learned a little Korean, and one day after the third time I was bugging her, she turned around, she says, why don't you just leave me alone? And so I said, you can speak English? Yes, I can. And I said, look, I don't want to be like a regular GI. I just want you to show me the things that normal Americans would not see in your country. I really want to learn your customs and know what's going on here. And so finally, we went out to dinner, and which was an interesting place, you know. They put you in this little booth, and there's a little bungee thing that heats up, you know, Bunsen burner.
Right.
And when you need more rice, you just clap your hands, and you hear it down the hall like patter, and here it comes. They ask you what you would need, and then they bring you more rice, you know. And so that was neat to do that. And then we went for long walks in the country, and she showed me, you know, their agriculture, and you know, she said that they had many different dialects of Korean. And you could tell by talking to somebody, she said she could, that, oh, this guy's a farmer, or that guy's a businessman, or this guy's, you know, works in a theater, you know.
Yeah.
So just by their different
Tones.
yeah. Yeah, by the way they talk, you know.
Wow.
So that was very interesting, so.
Well, that was good. You got to see some of the country while you were
Yeah.
while you were on alert.
Oh, yeah.
So you were there for about 9 months, and then what happened?
Well, after that, you know, like I liked staying there because I didn't like Okinawa. So my sergeant was calling for me and to come back, you know, because we were only supposed to stay, I think, just under 80 days.
Oh.
And I was pushing over 100. And so he said, "You're coming back," and I went like that on the phone. I go, "We have a bad connection," and I hung up on him. And he finally showed up in the next turnaround. And so he said, "You're going back with me today." And I said, "Yes, sir." So, but I did get back again, you know, because I really enjoyed Korea. It was similar to this area, you know,
Yeah.
rolling hills and stuff like that. So, and the people were really nice.
Yeah.
Compared to the Okinawans, you know, so. And I like the food better, and you know, I ate all their food.
Yeah.
That was another nice thing about dating this gal for a little while, because she took me to like this makgeolli house, and it's kind of like a bar for men, but Korean men. And so I go in there, and there's this big round table, and she was going shopping, so she said, "Look, go in there. I'll tell the guys that you're a newbie, and you're you know." And so they all welcomed me, and there was a big tea kettle in the middle of this table, and I didn't know what I was doing. And they had like a cereal bowl next to me, and this guy, they're all going kumshi down. And I found out that means drink it all.
Oh.
And so he's got this thing full of rice whiskey, and he's just drinking it down, kumshi da, you know. And so then he puts the cereal bowl over in front of me, and he grabs a tea kettle and pours me one. And so then they're all kumshi da, you know, and we went through 2 or 3 of those kettles. And then she comes back, and she was all upset because I was feeling no pain by then, you know. But if you empty the tea kettle, that was the thing I had to learn. If you empty it, then you got to buy that round.
Oh.
So it ended up like 80 cents or some crazy thing, you know. So that was a fun thing.
Yeah, learning some of the customs. And
yeah, and then being welcomed by people that have no clue who you are, or, you know, what you do. Right. Another thing too, when we went out, that was kind of unique. They're very resourceful people, Koreans. We went out to dinner one time, you know, it was real muddy and nasty out, kind of raining and stuff. And so you leave your boots outside, you know. Well, I come back, you know, we were all done, come back, and I look down at my boots, and one's just spit shined, and the other one's all muddy. And the guy looks up at me, he goes, "Would you like a shoe shine?" I go, "You're one heck of a salesman." Yeah. I said, "Of course."
It's pretty good.
So yeah, I thought that was funny and unique, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, after Korea, then I tried to get them to give me orders for Europe, because in the Air Force you're guaranteed to be there 3 years.
Oh.
And then they can only mess with you for 1 year and send you anywhere they want. But I never got those orders. They're coming, you know. Well, because I wanted to get out of the service and become a pilot. You know, and they were kind of steering me that direction to do that. And while I was in Okinawa, my wife at the time, I was gone like maybe 4 months, maybe 5 at the most. And she called me, and I got the call up in base operations where all the brass is, you know, the colonels and majors and stuff. And so I couldn't hardly hear her, and she was like hinting around that my girlfriend and I were talking, and what would your husband do? He's overseas too, if you got pregnant. And that's when I turned around to everybody and I said, can you please shut up? I need to talk and listen. I can't hear. And that place just got quiet.
Wow.
They all shut up, all those big brass dudes. And so I continued the conversation. They heard everything I said. And so when I left, the sergeant came up and she goes, you're working the night shift too. You're working a double shift, because they were afraid I was going to go into town and do something stupid,
Yeah.
so, which I wouldn't have, you know.
No.
So, but then I did go home and, you know.
Got out of the Air Force.
Yeah, yeah.
But you did you get to go to Japan? Had you told me?
I did. I went, while I was in Okinawa, I went up to base ops and said, I don't care where you send me. This was before Korea.
Uh-huh.
And so I did go to Japan. I went to the southern tip and the northern tip of Japan, and I really enjoyed that. I got to ride on that bullet train to go to Tachikawa, I think, is where we went very quickly on that train. So, and it was unique. You get in one of those train cars, and there's 2 guys on each side of the doors, and they call them pushers, and I go, what do they call them pushers for? Well, I found out it would stop, and then people would get in. These guys were shoving people in. You were like packed in there, you know. And I was a tower over the little people, you know. You could see me real good in that car, because everybody else was quite short. So, but yeah, that was interesting. So, very clean country.
Yeah, it's still
clean.
very clean.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us the story about the Bad Sam pilot?
Oh yeah, in Korea. Yeah, the pilots they would stay like a month to 6 weeks, and then they would switch pilots out. And they would fly new birds in too, and then the birds that were there, they'd replace with new ones coming in. And so Bad Sam, he was going to be our commander, and he was a major, and he flew in supersonic at about 100 feet and knocked out about 200 windows on the base. Well, the Korean, he was a general, 1-star general, this Korean that was in charge of the base. He grabbed him and stopped him from flying for a couple of weeks, you know. That was when I had to go out and run up aircraft and stuff for a while. And being a young guy, I was on the runway taxiway, taxiing down one day, and I got some squirrel out of me, and I hit that thing in full military, which is 3/4 power. And I hear from base ops, shut this aircraft down. You know, they're talking to me.
Oh,
And so the air police came up and ripped me out of that airplane. I mean, luckily I shut everything down, so. But my sergeant told me, if I ever see you in here again, you won't have anything on your sleeves. So.
all your stripes.
Yep. So that was an experience.
Shape up.
That's right, I did. Real quick.
So about this time, then you're getting ready to go home.
Yes.
They're sending you home.
Yeah.
Okay, so about what year are we at now?
1969.
1960. Okay.
Yeah.
And you came back. Where do you go back to? When we say back, where did you come back to in the United States?
I flew into what was it, Fairfield.
Oh, Travis Air Force Base.
Yeah,
That's
Travis.
Okay, Travis.
And then from there, they flew us to LAX. You know, they kept us there for a little while. I don't know why.
Did they?
Yeah, they kind of messed with us for a little bit. They tried to get me, all of us, to go out and pick cigarette butts up, police the area, and I just acted like I was picking things up. I didn't pick any cigarettes, but I'm sorry.
I know.
And
Were they trying?
I'm getting out of here.
Were they? Oh yeah, you were. Were they trying to get you to re-up, or what? Why do you think they did that?
No, that was beyond that. I just think that Sergeant, must have had a bad day or something, and he was trying to punish us in any way. He didn't want us there, and we were kind of in limbo, and so he was giving us something to do.
Oh gee.
I think that's all that was, but I didn't do it, so.
So they flew you back home, and did your parents come to meet you, or how?
They did.
Aw.
They did, and I got out of the airplane, and I was in my dress blues, and I was pretty proud of my uniform and the things I did and what things I got to see, but the people were not very nice. I had a couple of people spit at me, and so I went in the restroom right away and changed into civilian clothes.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Let your hair grow quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to this party when I got home, and there was a bunch of kids in there talking about the war and all this stuff, and saying, "Oh, look at all those baby killers! They're killing everybody," and it upset me just because I told them all. I said, you guys are in this nice warm little house. You don't have to worry about some bomb dropping on your house right now. You're safe. And I said, they don't paint the bad VCs red. They all look the same.
Yep.
So when you go into a camp, you got to assume that they're your enemy, and if one of them makes a wrong move, they're going to shoot them, or you're going to get shot. So, you guys have it all wrong here, and I left.
Yeah.
So, but that was kind of the attitude with a lot of the young kids and even grown-ups,
Yeah, it was a hard
at
time.
the time. Yeah. And then I went, I didn't want to go on unemployment when I got out of the service. So they were opening up a new Sears in Ventura, so I went over there to apply, and I took their little math test, and I passed all that, and then they had me in the hallway, and they had this other Hispanic in this room, and they said, well, he can't speak English, and so they went upstairs and got him an interpreter, and he took the test, and they hired him because of at that time in 1969, they were really pushing that equal rights stuff, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. But, when they're getting more, I spent 4 years in the service away from my family, and then this Jehu comes in and gets a job, because of that SB 98 or whatever it was. I forget what exactly it was, but that didn't make me happy. So, but I did end up working at Kmart.
Okay.
In the automotive, and
so
worked there a
motors
while.
and things.
And I was going to college full time.
Oh, you were, okay.
At that time, I went back to school, applied myself, and the first 2 months I made the dean's list.
Yeah.
So
difference in maturity level from when
huge difference in maturity level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Motivated.
Very motivated.
Good.
To get better.
So what did you do in school? What were you going for?
Well, I started out in the computer science, and then I really didn't like that. So then I went into engineering and took some surveying classes and stuff like that. And then I thought, I don't know about this either. And so I got a job part-time with the county.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed working outside and working, the landscape part of it, So then I'm going to get into this, And so I started taking like turf and, soils classes and stuff like that. And I did very well in those. And so there I went they offered me a job with the city of Thousand Oaks, and so I took it, and I was their only arborist for several years. In fact, I taught a class there to teach people how to take the test and what they needed to learn to become an arborist.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And you learned pest control.
Yeah, I was a pest control advisor through the state of California. So I ran their spraying program too, but I'm not a real chemical guy, that
Yeah.
much. So that was my last resort. I would usually do biological control, which, you get lacewings and ladybugs that
Right.
are voracious eaters,
Yeah.
You set a little half cup early in the morning underneath that tree if it had aphids, and they crawl up that tree and eat every aphid on that tree,
Wow.
Yeah, in Westlake, this lady was always calling, or no, it was the postman. She was complaining that she had to turn her windshield wipers on. The frass was so bad with the aphids.
Wow.
And so I said, look, I'm going to try and take care of it. So I let them loose in there, and within a week, she said, I don't know what you did, but they're all gone.
Wow.
So it knocked them all out. Yeah, I had 1,200 ash trees in there that were just riddled with aphids. So, but yeah, took care of it.
Huh. So you did that for about 30 years?
Yeah,
Okay. And then you retired?
yes, I retired in '02.
Okay, but you're still very active, so you want to tell us some of the hobbies that you have? And
Sure. Yeah. After I retired, I knew I needed to do something because I'm an active guy. Well, we bought that place, so we have 4 acres up there, so that's kept me busy for the last 24 years now.
Yes,
And we've had some windstorms up there where it looked like a war zone with trees on the ground.
Oh,
So it took me quite a while, 3 months, one storm, to
Take the
clean all
trees
that
down
up. And
completely.
they allow you to burn brush up there too,
Oh,
so that helped.
yeah.
So I didn't have to go to the dump and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed that property up there. So that since we retired,
In
Mariposa, yeah.
Where it is.
Once an arborist, always an arborist.
That's it. Yeah, I'm a tree hugger from way back. Also an aircraft hugger too.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Wood turning.
Love airplanes. But yeah, I got into wood turning. A friend of mine that lived up there in Mariposa, old Merle, he was like in his 80s, and we got to be friends because his daughter worked for the city of Thousand Oaks too, and she overheard me one time. We were having a little function, and she said, "Did I hear you say Mariposa?" And I go, "Yeah." She said, "Well, my dad lives up in Mariposa. Where do you live?" And I said, "In the Lush Meadow area." He lives in the Lush Meadow area. So he lived like around the corner from
Oh
us.
my gosh.
And so we'd go up and then we'd come home, to go to work and stuff. And so he would always miss us. And so finally one time we met him and he came over and we got to be friends, and he brought over a pen and pencil set to me, wooden,
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah.
And so I got that, and he goes, "Yeah, you're a handy guy, you could learn how to do this." And I said, "Well, when are you available?" And he says, "Well, if you want to come over tomorrow." I said, "I'll be over at 8:30. So I made my own pen and pencil set that
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And so I got into it and kind of self-taught myself with his direction. We started out with little bowls,
Right.
and then I got into bigger stuff. And then I got to a point where I wasn't really improving or getting as far into it as I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So then I joined Channel Island Wood Turner,
Yeah.
and there was only 26 guys and ladies when I joined, and now there's over 100.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
and we have 10 mentors in there. I think they'd like me to be one of them, but I'm not there yet. But that will, specialize like maybe in pens or bowls or whatever, and then they'll show the new people how to do those things. They'll either come over to your house or you can come over to their house,
Yeah.
and they'll walk you through it. And I taught at Cabrillo Middle School at
Oh,
the wood shop there.
nice.
Kids, about 8 years, I think, at least.
Off and on.
Fun.
Yeah, I really loved that.
Yeah.
That was enjoyable. But after I was there for about a year, I greatly improved my wood turning.
Skills.
You know, so
Nice.
yeah.
So certainly keep him busy.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share that we haven't covered or talked about?
No, I think that's pretty well covered, you know. What I would like to add is that the things I gained from being in the service was maturity, you know,
Okay, yeah.
and being loyal
Oh, yeah, definitely. I could see
and
that.
to our country,
Yes.
you know, and knowing that there's something out there a lot bigger than you.
Yeah. Worth
Yeah,
taking care of.
definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it really makes you grow up, and I highly recommend going into any of these kids. I wish our country would make it mandatory
Yeah.
that men and women, like in
Israel.
Israel,
Yeah.
that they would do at least 6 months in there or a year.
Yeah.
You know, because I think our world would be a lot different than it is now.
Yeah.
You know, and so I enjoyed my time in there. Yeah, I don't regret a day of it.
Well,
You know, so
well, we thank you for your service,
well,
Gary.
thank you.